Hello guys! Today I'm going to be reviewing When the Phone Rings. I just finished watching episode 12 and I wanted to get on YouTube and post my review. Okay, so When the Phone Rings is a K-drama that actually came out December 2024 but just finished airing today on Netflix. It has 12 episodes and it stars Yoo Yeon Seok as the male lead, and the female lead is played by Cha Soo Bin. The female lead is mute in the show, and she is a sign language interpreter for a news corporation. And the male lead is the spokesperson for the president, and he's also a negotiator for when stuff gets heavy politically. They both work in the communication field, but they are terrible at communicating with each other, and they have a really terrible marriage. At the beginning of the show, they've been married for 3 years, and the one thing that actually kicks off them beginning to talk to each other is a kidnapper who kidnaps the female lead, and then the story goes on, and it's called When the Phone Rings because it's all about phones. If you want to watch it, you can watch it on Netflix. If you like thriller romance, that kind of sways more towards sways more towards romance, but does also mix the thriller in quite well. I would recommend that you watch this show because it's been a really fun time for me watching it. So let's get into it. So at the beginning of the show, when I started it personally, I hated the male lead. In the first episode, the female lead gets kidnapped, and he basically is saying on the phone to the kidnapper, like, you can kill her, bring me her corpse. And she overhears him say this. And she already thinks that he hates her anyway, because he's been treating her like rubbish throughout their entire marriage. And that kind of kicks off her stealing the kidnapper's phone and playing games with him, pretending that she's a kidnapper to try and kind of like hurt him. And I was really pissed at him because she comes back home after getting kidnapped, and he comes back home from work after being told that she was kidnapped. And he thought that she wasn't kidnapped because he called her mother, and her mother said that they just had dinner and she's fine. So when he got home and she was okay, he didn't think anything was wrong. Personally, what I would have done is I would have been on the kitchen floor with pig's blood all over my body, making sure that you know that I was hurt. Like, I want you to know that I was hurt, and I want to see your reaction. But that's just me. I'm not the character. That's just my reaction when I was watching that episode. And granted, the reason why the male lead is the way he is towards the female lead is because he's really traumatized. We find out in the show that he was taken from a fisherman that basically raised him like his own son at 15 by his father, who is, a potential presidential candidate, but not a presidential candidate, but somebody really heavily involved in politics. At 15, after the father, but he didn't know they were related yet by that age, but we find out later on, after his father takes him because he wants to kill his grandson because his grandson's a psychopath. And the psychopath is the person that kidnaps the female lead in the first episode. We don't find this out until a lot later on in the show, but I'd rather just tell you everything that happens and my interpretation of it now. So he comes from a really messy familial background, and the female lead does too. Her real father is in a hospice because he has dementia or Alzheimer's. He literally can't really remember much. He can, but in pieces, and his memory is not fully there. And then her adoptive father is really wealthy. He is a newspaper tycoon, and she has a sister, an adoptive sister, and then her mother's still alive. Her mother's the one who married the newspaper tycoon, and she has a younger brother that died in a car accident that is also her adopted brother. And that adopted brother was actually killed because he saw the real grandson before the grandson was killed by the grandfather. And so the grandfather put a hit out on the family so that no one find out who Paxon is, and figure out that he replaced his grandson with his actual son. So they both come from really messy familial backgrounds, and the female lead's muteness is actually because after the car accident, the mother was like, your adoptive sister is deaf now, so you have to be mute, because if you're not mute and nothing's wrong with you, he's going to kick us out because his daughter's messed up and you're not. We're going to hit to the curb because we're the povos. That's pretty much what she tells her. And so from age 7, 8 after the accident until her adult life, she pretends she can't speak a word. mind you, she can speak, and I'm talking about she'll scream out loud usually, and like if she gets hurt, she won't say anything, she won't scream, she won't nothing, but she's not actually mute. Like they both have intense trauma going into this marriage. And the marriage is even a contract marriage as well. So basically, the male lead goes to her and he's like, so basically, 2 billion and one, if you divorce me, you can't divorce me, pretty much. And tells her that don't touch me, don't have sex with me, don't sleep with me, don't come near me. Da, 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 da. He's a nasty. Mind you, he's deeply in love with her, but is like not wanting to get involved with her because he has revenge plans and she's going to mess everything up. So it's better she just stays away from him. So he acts really, really cold towards her. Oh my lord. And mind you, the reason why he got married to her is because he found out before the wedding that she was supposed to be married to this construction family that's apparently super evil, and he was trying to save her because he was supposed to marry her adoptive sister. But the adoptive sister didn't want to marry him because she found out that he was actually the son of his grandfather and not just she basically found out the family secret pretty much and was not interested in becoming involved with him. And so the whole marriage as well, Femalee's thinking that she's just kind of like a cardboard cutout, I guess, of her sister. Because everyone keeps telling her you're just a replacement for your sister when it's not even actually true. Like it's not true at all. And then her sister, her adopted sister, like runs away, but didn't really run away, just kind of hid away, letting the marriage kind of wait itself out, and then she comes back later on. So basically, it's really messy. They have this really, really messy background coming into this marriage, and so this kidnapper kickstarts her like threatening him, being like, "You got to divorce her," and then he's like, "You're the kidnapper. Why are you asking me to divorce my wife? Like what?" And she's trying to reason herself into this, and it's not making any sense to him. And then he comes home and starts actually behaving a lot better towards her over time as the kidnapper. He's making these threats against his wife. And he starts actually telling her out loud that he's deeply in love with his wife, to his wife, thinking that she's the kidnapper. This is what's happening the whole show, right? And that's mainly what's happening. And they're slowly like falling in love with each other while they're doing this foreplay that they don't even know it's foreplay. And it's really interesting. And what really makes her pick up the phone in the first place is that they go to this event in the first episode, and it's in like an embassy event, like a birthday party kind of thing. And he asks her to interpret for him, and usually like he doesn't take her to any like professional events like that. It's the first time he's done it, and he tells the British embassy guy, who has a wife that's also I think deaf, yeah, that like he doesn't bring his wife to events because he wants to protect her, because they assume that she's his wife because she's the sign language interpreter next to him. But he's like, no, she's not my wife. And then basically, then in the same sentence says, I love my wife, she's my weakness. And then after that, Female is like, oh, you're crazy, like, you pissed me off. And then picks up the phone and starts this whole conversation with him over the phone, pretending to be the kidnapper. And the number she's using is 406, which is the international number. And so the whole time this is happening, he's tracking the kidnapper, trying to track who it is with his whole negotiation department. And obviously they can't really find anything because, well, it's his wife, not the kidnapper. So, the whole show is like that. And then Female gets kidnapped like about 3 times in this show. And I mean, each time she gets kidnapped, like after the first time, it's like, oh my lord, come on now. Because the second and third time she gets kidnapped, they've kind of established their relationship as a couple a bit more, and it's just kind of like, you get annoyed as a character with her getting repeatedly kidnapped because you're like, you're going to be even more traumatized by the end of this, okay? And it's insane. But honestly though, like, it was an enjoyable ride, and I loved every single episode. And now I may want to talk about the last 2 episodes. This is a thriller romance, but I'm gonna be honest, like, episode 11 out of all the 12 episodes felt like the most thriller. Like, I watched it yesterday, and I was literally on the edge of my seat. Like, the whole episode, the chase with the villain, like, she had gotten kidnapped again and was locked up because, basically, the male lead's, pretend mother, so I guess his, technically his aunt-in-law, whatever, I don't know, his fake mother, okay, realizes that her son wasn't actually killed by the grandfather, because this is why the evil psychopath son didn't actually get killed. The grandfather like tries to choke him and then gives him to the fisherman and is like, finish the job. Fisherman doesn't do it, right? So psychopath kid has been alive this whole time for the past 20 years. Fake mother kidnaps female lead to get back at the male lead because he'd already killed his dad, the grandfather, for trying to kill her son. So, Hydra gets kidnapped and everything, and then she escapes, and then they're all like, the whole country's looking for her. He finally admits to the world that she's his wife because he didn't let anybody know her identity this whole time either. That was also part of the marriage contract. So he lets everybody know she's his wife. He's crying, he's sobbing, he's looking for her. They find her in the episode, and she's there. They're in the car, getting back to the hospital, whatever. Kidnapper comes because he was locked up by his mom, but then his dad came and like released him because he wanted to shoot him, but then obviously the kidnapper is stronger than the dad, so he escapes. And then he whispers something into Melly's ear. Melly runs away after that, and he's just gone. Main reason why episode 11 was a thriller was because of the whole chase aspect of her being kidnapped and like trying to look for her, figuring out if they're going to find her, is she going to be alive, is she going to be dead, like not knowing what the writers are going to do is exactly what made the episode so thriller like. Like I was literally like so terrified for today's episode because I did not know what to expect. And yeah, like it was crazy. And then also, like, there's a second male lead who's involved with this psychopath who killed his friend because he's an orphan. Second male lead is an orphan, and they're trying to investigate it. And then also, the secretary of the male lead, who's been working closely with him this whole time, thought that he was the real killer of his brother because he was also an orphan, but it wasn't him, it was the kidnapper. And he's been working with the kidnapper the whole time. So the original kidnapping event was the cause of the secretary, who's a mastermind, and the psychopath real grandson that everybody thought was dead. I'm telling you, like, it's so convoluted, but so good, like, what to say. Yeah, episode 11 felt like the most thrill-seeking episode. Episode 12 was a mess. Like, literally, the best part of the episode were the last 30 minutes because pretty much what happens in the last episode is he runs away because he's like, oh, like, my dad, my real dad, caused the car accident that killed your little brother because the only person that died in the car accident they had was her adopted brother. So he runs away and she's just waiting there at the house like for like 6 months for him. Then she gets this message saying, oh, he's donated 2 billion won to like this school out in this foreign place. So she goes there and it's a war zone, and then she's asking the director of the school, like, where can I see this particular sunset? Because Melody loves sunsets, right? So he's like, you can't go there. And she goes there anyway. She gets kidnapped again, and then she meets the male lead, and he's like, why did you come? Like, oh, like, She's like, how long did you want me to wait for you? I can't wait anymore. They kiss, they have sex, and then there's a time skip, and they get remarried. She renames him as well, because he just has lost that old identity that was never really him, right? Like, he was living somebody else's life. They get married and they have a cute ending. He goes back to his job as a negotiator because he stopped for a while, obviously, because everyone found out all their family secrets, and so he stopped for a while. And he goes back, and then they're both like doing foreplay at the end. And he's calling from an international number 604, and she's using the 406, or at least not 406 necessarily, but you know, she's calling him and he's calling her, and they're doing the foreplay like they used to do when they didn't know that they were doing foreplay. And it's cute. Like the ending was nice. I liked it, but I'm not gonna lie. It probably would have been better for them to just make episode 11 like 2 hours or something, and not give us episode 12 or 1 hour 30 minutes or something. Because 48 minutes of episode 12 was literally a waste of time. Like I'm telling you, it was crazy. I think the writers were taking things when they wrote those first 40 minutes of episode 12 because nothing in it made any sense. Like, I was flabbergasted. I was confused. I was weirded out. Like, their marital bliss and those blissful moments were the best parts of episode 12 because after the trauma of episode 11, giving us 40 minutes of that mess is crazy. The only thing I will say is it's very symbolic for this couple in particular to be sleeping together in a war zone. It's our paradise, but it's our war zone. You know what I mean? Like, very, very symbolic because their whole marriage has been a war zone. It's only now peaceful after the kidnapper has gotten involved. Like, they've only been able to communicate once things really, really got to ground zero. So it is symbolic that that they've stepped together in a war zone. But like aside from that, I'm not particularly impressed with the first 40 minutes of episode 12. Aside from that, I did like, how they kind of addressed the family trauma at the end of episode 12. Like, she made amends with her mother and her father and her adoptive sister and was like, I forgive you all, I'm letting it go, you guys should let it go too. They were living in a big house. They moved houses when they got married. She goes to her parents and is like, I'm not going to tell you where I live yet. Let's just take time with it because you have beef against my husband and I just want to kind of chill out for now and be happily married because I'm happy. Didn't you want me happy? I'm happy. Because one thing about it, for most of the show, her mother is an absolute menace. The same mother that made her pretend to be mute so they could live wealthy. Yeah. And then when she got kidnapped the second time, the mother starts freaking out. Oh man, oh my baby. And then I was acting like nice towards her at the end, which basically gives her mother a redemption arc, which I don't care for. I really don't, but whatever. So yeah, it's kind of peaceful at the end. And it was good, like overall. I rated this drama a 9.5. The only thing I didn't like about it was pretty much everything I complained about in episode 11 and 12, mainly. Like, those are the main things that I would complain about. That, not really episode 11, episode 12. Like, those 40 minutes, that's where the minus 0.5 has taken away from it. If not for episode 12 being really messy, to be honest, I probably would have given it a 10. Really amazing show. 12 episodes was perfect for this show because some people are saying, I want 16 episodes. If this show had 16 episodes, I'm telling you, they would ruin the ending. I'm giving it to you straight. The ending would be rubbish if this was 16 episodes, and I know that for a fact. Like, 12 episodes for this show is literally perfect. It should not be any longer, and I stand on that. I absolutely stand on that. But yeah, no, a really good thriller romance, and like, I hope like more thriller romances in the genre can do this, where it's like really romantic, but also really thrill-seeking. You know what I mean? And there were certain bits of it that remind me of Twilight a little bit. Like, when he leaves her in episode 12, it reminded me of when Edward left Bella in New Moon. Like, that was the exact same vibe that it was giving me. But I'm not gonna lie, I had a really fun time. The fandom's been amazing. I've loved going on Reddit and MDL and reading all the comments. It's been a great show. I've loved it. A 9.5. You can go watch it on Netflix. I'm really happy with this show. It's a nice way to like kind of start off the year. I hope we get, more great K dramas and C dramas and J dramas this year because it was really good. It was a really, really good time. Thank you so much for listening. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. Thanks so much for listening. Bye bye.